Take a seat, humanitarian. Sit down.
Take a seat, humanitarian.
Cryogenic containment restored.
I'm sorry, Victor. I can't give you peace, but I can give you justice.
It's a cold, cold night in a cold winter's day or some sort. But it could be either Christmas or Halloween or New Year's, whichever works, so yes. So, it's time to punch crime in the face. This is Arkham Twin Days! Hi there, viewers. I'm Leo Wolverine, your game commentator, founding member of Leo's Let's Plays Alliance, as we are going to tell another story in Arkham Origins, and this time the storyline is the DLC story of Cold, Cold Heart, Mr. Victor Freeze. See, I did a rhyme there. Did it work? I told you I wasn't too late to make the puns that make the rhyme all the time. See what I did? You know, a rhyme time. You know, rhyming with words. Okay, whatever. I'm hurt. Anyways. I'm crying in pain. No, really. I'm not crying in pain. Kind of, sort of. But not really, though. Okay, anyways. So, moving on. So, yeah. This is the story about Mr. Freeze and also the conspiracy theories of Mr. Ferris Boyle. So what is going on with Mr. Ferris Boyle, of course? Let's start off with a New Year's Eve party back in Wayne Manor. Everybody's having a good time. Yes, and we're going to start off with a kicking New Year's party blowout. Celebrating the new year by counting down. And Christmas has already been passed. Of course, that's where things got a little chilly because they thought the citizens of Gotham thought Bruce would let Bruce thinks that it will let the party will let them cold all of a sudden. But it was no cold matter for a joke. So yes, the ice puns are going to continue forward. And guess who had an ice evening coming along the way of a New Year's Eve party? Mr. Victor Freeze showed up. And he is not too happy. And he says, "Bring me Ferris Boyle. Nothing matters but give him to me now, and I want him alive." He sounds like Brain from Animaniacs, which is pretty clever if you kind of think about the voice actor. And so he kidnapped Ferris Boyle. Of course, Bruce doesn't have his bat suit. He wonders who is that giant man in a mechanized suit. So he's trying to go out back the other way. But of course, thugs were lurking along Wayne Mansion because Mr. Victor Freeze has some hired henchmen or help. So yes. So he is able to, yeah. At least he is able to stop them, of course. But he had to take them out silently. Otherwise, he's going to get shot along the way. He is not wearing any bulletproof armor, if you want to know. And it's not going to help. So he has to take them out silently without getting shot, of course. Of course, he had to show off some kung fu moves against thugs, of course. Of course, the these thugs know who Bruce Wayne is. He's a billionaire. Millionaires are so last year. And so he is able to get rid of them, he's able to get out of the way. Of course, he had a talk with the civilians and Vicky Vale, who has a thing for Bruce Wayne. Of course, I'm pretty sure Bruce doesn't kind of like Vicky Vale, but later on he will, because he kind of finds a love interest to her so much, which is so wonderfully fantastic and romantic, which that comes out back on that 1989 movie of Batman. Okay, so that story I'm going to tell you about that movie story is way later. So this is the story of the DLC of Cold Cold Heart. Okay, so yeah. Since he's able to take out the thugs, of course, and Alfred says, "Be careful, sir. There are many thugs looking across this mansion about here on this other side of the door." And Batman and Bruce Wayne says, "Don't worry, I'll be able to get them now, and they will not stop me or some sort. And I need you to stay out of harm's way." And Alfred says, "These thugs don't scare me one bit, sir." And Bruce says, "Alfred, I'll stop them. You get going if I do not stop the thugs myself, of course." And so yeah, Bruce is going to go across deeper into Wayne Manor. He is going to tell them that I need to get that item for them to keep them out of harm's way. And so he is able to get that item. The item would be the bat suit, of course. So he is able to get into the back. He's able to get into the entrance of the Batcave, down to the elevators. Of course, part of from what it's worth, since our damager who paid a visit, who is the visitor back on Christmas Eve. That was Bane, if you want to know, who came into the house. Even though some of the areas may be repaired, but still some are left damaged, he doesn't have the time to fix up everything. So there was only one thing for him to do. He had to do something about it. So he is able to get the bat suit. Of course, he wanted to get the XE suit, but he needs Alfred to put up the remaining finishing touches. So he is able. So since he puts on the bat suit and he's able to be prepared, prepped, and ready to go with the electrifying shock gloves. And now he is now he's ready to fight crime and punch crime in the face. And now he is ready to stop all the thugs inside his mansion. Of course, you have to rescue the hostages inside the Predator area room inside Wayne Manor, of course. And so he is able to do that. Oh boy. At least he is able to get the hostages safe and stop every thug inside the Predator room before they decided to take more hostages. Of course, he isn't satisfied from what he wonders. He has to go after Mr. Freeze, but he has to rescue Ferris Boyle first. And why does he have a grudge against Ferris Boyle in the first place? So he's able to. So he was able to sneak past his way in through the manor and try to get to Ferris Boyle himself. Of course, Ferris Boyle. Well, Mr. Boyle says, "Batman, I've heard about you." And yes, and there comes Mr. Freeze. And he's not too happy to see Batman here. And Batman says, or he says something about you came to crashing the wrong party, of course. So yeah, he came in crashing the wrong party. So he had to find a way. Well, he did break out the ice, beating up Mr. Freeze's thugs all around all of a sudden. More thugs coming along the way. But then he realized he's noticed something different. He sees these cryogenic guns. So why would Mr. Freeze acquire some of his henchmen with cryogenic guns with ice power? And Batman begins to wonder, what kind of technology would get this kind of weapons tech to freeze their foes on their tracks, or freeze anyone in their tracks? The answers lie within Mr. Freeze, but he wants to find Ferris Boyle first. The only way to find Ferris Boyle is to follow where Mr. Freeze is at. So he heads back out to Gotham City. Well, before he heads back out to Gotham City, and he interrogates one of Mr. Freeze's henchmen. And so for that, he's able to tell them, and he says, "Where is Mr. Freeze going?" And he says, I don't know. I think he's going somewhere back in southern Gotham," it says. "Unless..." And he says, Do you know how many friends of yours that I sent to the hospital on Christmas Eve?" And he says something about Freeze going to somewhere that's a place in southern Gotham where he kind of meets demands with the Penguin or some sort of. He says, yeah. And all of a sudden, so he heads back to Gotham City outside once again, and the temperatures are like freezing cold outside, of course. You know how cold it is in December. Like, who knows how the temperatures are in Gotham City. It's kind of like Newark and New York. But it's like, yeah, you can imagine it's almost like, it feels like the North Pole for here. And so, the North Pole is what it's been through. So yeah, I'm cold as ice, and my heart is not too warm outside because it is not an ice evening. It is an icy, chilly night on a cold winter's night. So he was able to find a trail that's somewhere along around southern Gotham. Of course, he is able to find this trail that is leaking cryogenic fluid on the gun. So he followed the trail and found one of the Penguin's or Mr. Freeze's henchmen. And so Batman interrogates this thug and says something. And this thug says, he's working around the. He's getting the cryogenic weapons tech out of GothCorp. Batman says, "You're lying. GothCorp doesn't make weapons." And the thug says, "No, I swear, GothCorp, I'm telling the truth. Here, I got the entry codes." And Batman says, "I'll take those." And Batman says it doesn't make any sense. Why would GothCorp be involved in all of this? Well, if he wants to know, it has something to do with Mr. Freeze. So, yeah, he had to stop Mr. Freeze in order to save Ferris Boyle. So he had to go to GothCorp, and he has to rescue those, the GothCorp employees who are frozen inside, including, well, there's Penguin's henchmen, of course. So he is able to rescue any of the employees that are around here, most of them. Things are not going to get handy-dandy or hunky-dory around here with the Dark Knight. So he is able to find the Penguin and Mr. Freeze along the way. So he is able to find him. And for any other reason, he had to do something fast. He had to intervene against the Penguin and Mr. Freeze. Of course, Mr. Freeze had to fire his cryogenic ice gun or ice cannon and be able to freeze an entire wall inside between the vicinity, and because now that the Penguin is definitely frozen, he is now not going anywhere. He's just going to chill out for the moment in his ice wall for his own thoughts. Of course, Batman had something to say with the Penguin, and the Penguin might know something about why were there cryogenic weapons being stolen out of GothCorp, and there's some. And usually, Penguin says, "You let Mr. Freeze get away, and look at me, I'm stuck in this darn iceberg. Help me get me out." And Batman says, That ice wall is making you being trapped. And that ice wall is getting you trapped for the beating you deserve. He says, "Right, I know that already, but anyways, my informant has something that might be able to break out the ice wall. He's on my alibi, of course. Might know where to be able to find a way to break the ice." And Batman says, "Well, you better hope that your informant is still at my alibi, or else I'll be coming back for you." So he is able to go to my alibi. Of course, Batman is telling Alfred is the XE suit ready for deployment. So for that he said, Alfred did say he has already finished up the remaining touches of the XE suit that generates a lot of thermal heat, nice and toasty, where he is warm on the inside and not getting cold on the outside, of course. And so for that matter, he is able to get inside the new suit on top of the building of the My Alibi Club. And so now that he's going to go inside the My Alibi Club, he is able to get in. Of course, he had to rescue all the officers who are trapped in the ice, of course. And there is an officer who is right next to an informant, but the informant is not frozen, if you want to know. That informant is none other than Richard Loose Lips LeBlanc again. And so he had to talk to Richard Loose Lips LeBlanc again, and he cannot believe it's Batman again. Yeah! What's up? Oh my. So, he's able to interrogate him and says, "You stole a cryogenic drill out of Gothcorp. Where is it?" And he says, "It's separated into parts. One's located on a rooftop and on a rooftop, and the other in a warehouse, in a parking garage. Please don't drop me off on a rooftop like last time." It says, "Yeah, but Batman says, maybe next time I will." And so he punched his lights out. As always. It's just funny. It's just funny. Oh my. So he is able to find one cryogenic drill that's able to destroy the ice wall. He only found just a part of it, but somehow he needs more than just one part. He needs another part to destroy the ice wall, and that is in a parking garage of some sort. But it's not near the hotel, it's just like a warehouse. I would say a warehouse, perhaps. Of course, Anarchy is now involved again. Yes, Anarchy! And trying to go out with a bang on New Year's Eve. I guess they want to have a party of their own anyways, and not being left out in the cold, I suppose. Yeah, it's pretty... Oh, hello, thugs, right here. It's not funny. So, he is going to do something about now that he's got all of the cryogenic components to break the ice. All he needs is cryogenic fluid to break the ice. Of course, he has the parts that will work to destroy it. He needs some kind of power that needs to work with his own unique skills or some sort, or something to do with his way of thinking. I don't know what is going on with it. That's just my guess. And so, for that matter, if the only way to find cryogenic fluid is back in Gothcorp, of course, Batman wants to find out any info of who made this cryogenic drill, and that is none other than Mr. Freeze himself, of course, as in Victor Freeze, and it's no coincidence. Victor Freeze does create the cryogenic fluids, of course, and he wonders why did he create it, and created this in the first place, and how did he got this chemical cocktail that he's stuck into. Well, not a chemical cocktail, more like this chemical residue that he is stuck for the rest of his days, I suppose. And so, for that matter, he is going to go back into Gothcorp and find out why. So, if he's going to find out more of the cryogenic fluids, he will have to dive deeper into Gothcorp, even though the entire place is mostly like a frozen icy tundra of an ice fortress. Of course, you see how cold it is once you get inside. Usually how Batman wears spandex inside the suit and doesn't get a cold or a fever, or how he doesn't have a slow time reaction. The game developers decided, okay, even though Batman is getting freezing cold, he's not gonna get sick, and his symptoms will not slow him down without the exosuit and before it. So we're gonna give that to him, and now it's a continuity. So yay! I don't know what WB Games Montreal was thinking. It was funny.
You feeling lucky, Playboy?
It was just okay. That was just kind of awkward to see. That was just kind of awkward to see what's going on with WB Games Montreal, but for those, it's just. Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. It's okay. So even though he's not sick, he will have his symptoms won't slow down. And since he's wearing the XC suit, he doesn't have the flu. It's like, wow. It works like magic. Batman is immune to the cold, even on Arkham City and Arkham Knight, which is like this one, and also in Arkham Origins. It doesn't make him sick. And guess what? He's wearing specialized heat spandex that doesn't get him with the fever. So feed a cold, starve a fever anyway. So he has found the cure for the common cold. Our next one he's gonna make in the summer is a cure for the common heart. Oh, I'm losing my mind here because I don't know what the game developers do on that game anyways. Oh my. Okay, now back to GothCorp. Okay. He is able to take down every thug in the Predator room before being shot or some sort. It is just absolutely amazing of how things are going to get going. He finds more about what Mr. Freeze is going to happen next. So he goes into the room where this is a place that is completely abandoned, able to disable the cryo vapor, turning the fans on. And guess what? He's going to set up a crime scene starting right now. So he started up the crime scene. A security card was covered in the same residue pigmentation that Mr. Freeze is on. But he kind of died of heat stroke, if you want to know. And so, however, there was no signs of overheating. The heater was off. How could there be any signs of heating anyways? Well, he has to find out more back into the lab. So, how would he be able to solve this problem? He gets a good look around the view, and then he notices a replay of the security guards in GothCorp. They were retaining Mr. Freeze, or how about restraining Mr. Freeze, or detaining him. Of course, and there was an assailant, and assaulting Mr. Freeze, of course. And this assailant kinda had hit him with the butt of his gun or some sort. But then somehow he is going to find a way to solve this problem. The assailant he was going to figure out and cover the identity. Of course, he doesn't want any loose ends. Of course, this place was under quarantine. Oh my. If only Batman knew it was not the person he had to talk to who is Humanitarian of the Year. And guess who is none other than that person of the Humanitarian of the Year, and it's Ferris Boyle. Yeah, Batman says,
Ferris Boyle. It was Ferris. It was Ferris.
so yeah, Ferris Boyle. Oh my, if only Batman knew that how good person that Ferris Boyle is, but underneath, he's just a mad, evil man who wants to get away with things. Of course, Ferris Boyle wanted to make a deal with Victor Freeze back then, so he was able to try to save his wife. Of course, Victor Freeze had to put Nora in a cryogenic state, so he would buy more time to find a cure of this heart problem, or I can't remember the name of the stage, but it's something to do with oh my gosh, it was kind of pretty heartbreaking for me to see. If you watch the movie of Heart of Ice, which is from Batman the Animated Series, that is like a really fantastic movie, and it definitely won an Emmy Award of that movie because of the great voice acting, the great animation, the great storytelling. It was fantastic, and somebody got an Emmy. Best performance, best out of the ordinary. I mean, Batman the Animated Series of that movie of Sub-Zero or Heart of Ice was fantastic. It was well done. The movie was super exciting. It was perfect. I seen the whole movie. It made my eyes cry. It was just fantastic. Of course, when Ferris Boyle decided that he no longer wanted to plan on part of the deal, Victor Freeze wanted to do the research himself. So I'm guessing this is all about Huntington's chorea, a heart defect. That's right, Huntington's chorea, some kind of heart defect, a heart disease, some type of effect. And so he's able to do the research himself. But Ferris Boyle didn't like that. He said, all this research, all this, even Nora belongs to me. If you don't do from what I say, I will pull the plug, and you don't want me to do that, or else, because this is only research and a part of the deal, and she is only my pet project. But of course, Victor Freeze says murder, and that was a bad idea on Ferris Boyle's part. That he made a wrong, poorly choice move. He should have never said that, because that would make him a bad guy, and that would make him commit a crime. And guess what? He kind of did, but he did commit a crime by putting this kind of incident that he put in, and he also wants to kill Nora Freeze or having the pet project. That is just sick and wrong. Unless Victor Freeze wanted to agree to this, but he said no, he does not want to. He wants to bring his wife back to life so he can have more time to do on the research. But Ferris Boyle just doesn't care. He just wants to pull the plug. And because of that, he would commit murder, which is a crime on his own part, and that wasn't very smart of him. That was a weak and poor choiceable move on Ferris Boyle. Because all this violence, Victor Freeze only wanted to save his dying wife. It was just all he wanted to do. He wants to get her out of Gothcorp. That's all he wants. Nothing else. That is all he wanted to do in the first place. That is the only option he wanted to do. All he cared was nothing but his wife. If only he would open his heart to help others just like Nora would. But instead, he always had a heart of ice, and he blames on other people because he doesn't care about other people's problems. He only cares about those, about Nora's problems and not others. Which he is so stupidly stubborn he doesn't want to do it. He needs to let go of his ridiculous, indisposable dumbfoundedness and must help others like Nora would. Instead, he just doesn't care. Because without Nora, he would be dead. Come on, really, you need to move on. Nora would not be happy if you don't see yourself moving on. Of course, Nora will always be with you. I mean, seriously, come on, really, please? Don't let yourself too cold or be too cold-hearted. Because you don't want to have a heart of ice all the time, do you? My gosh. I just wish he would try to learn some things that are going on, that things will not be the same, or things, I know things will never be the same, but Mr. Freeze, really, you need to move on. I know you miss your wife, Nora. I know she has Huntington's chorea. The only thing that matters, you need to help other people, not be this ridiculous criminal, and stop wasting this kind of time. Quit following this ridiculous charade of what I am, or of this ridiculous idiocracy of yours. I know you want to save your wife, but you need to get past over it. Instead, you're not gonna listen. You just don't care. Well, guess what? You're gonna make yourself care even more than it hurts then it'll hurt more than just Batman himself. Nora would never wanted of this to see you like that in the first place, anyways. Oh my. And so, for that matter, so Batman is able to face Victor Freeze one last time. Since he's able to solve the crime and the clues, that Ferris Boyle is going to face judgment for his crimes. And he said, and Victor Freeze says, I only care about my wife. Nothing but my Nora. And Batman says, you have to let this stop. Boyle will face judgments for his crimes. I know what has happened here, and so the police. And Victor Freeze says, I only wanted to save my wife. She will be saved by me. If only she could tell what I feel. Her hand in mine. Because of him, she will only feel the icy touch of a man, as cold as the blood in his veins. And so for that, he has to face Victor Freeze one more time, because he is wearing a super cool survival suit built in Gothcorp to keep his temperature cores at sub-zero. Yeah, he has to survive in extreme cold, if you want to know. Without it, he would actually wither and die so quickly. And so for that, Batman is able to try to take out Mr. Freeze. It wasn't easy for him to take out his henchmen first. He says, "What are you waiting for? Get in here and find me the Batman. On the double." Of course, he wouldn't say on the double. Of course, I like to add it anyways. But yes, on the double, so he wants to find Batman. Things are not going to get pretty easy around here, comfy cozy. So yeah, how could anybody comprehend of all this? Oh my. So yes, he is able to take out the thugs, so he's able to overload those cryogenic cryo generators that were definitely installed, if you want to know, because since he is wearing the XE suit that able to overload 4 engines, he has to go after Mr. Freeze next. So he kind of froze not Mr. Freeze, he kind of froze Batman in his tracks somehow. But Batman is able to escape in the icy death traps of Mr. Freeze right in front of them, and he is able to get out of the way of the icy gun that will give him a chilling down on his spine-tingling, sensational feel that is not so hot. And it's absolutely very cold that will actually drain his stamina so fast. Of course, he is wearing the XE suit. I mean, of course, easy peasy. He's nice, toasty, and warm. But how long will he last if he stays in the cold, like being frozen all of a sudden? And so, he is able to get out of the icy cold. He wants to try to take down Mr. Freeze so quickly. He doesn't want to take him out completely, but he wants to try to weaken him as much as possible as he could with special freezing takedowns. That's not too hot, or so it seems, which is kind of cold if you think about it. See what I did there? Kind of cold. It's, just, because the icy puns, the hot mixture of the hot choice. Okay, whatever. That was a bad joke. I'm sorry! But anyways, here we are. Now that he is able to weaken Mr. Freeze, of course, he hears a sudden sound. Both of them. And Victor Freeze tries to hurry to his wife, Nora, and tries to rescue her before the cryogenic stasis was going to be shut off completely. So he has to activate the remainings of the cryogenic genic power that's inside the gurney or some sort, or some type of gurney, because the tracks were almost preserved remotely there, back from the quarantine lab. So he is able to stop Mr. Freeze in Gothcorp. But however, Ferris Boyle, although he is the victim, wants to play the victim of his plot to Mr. Freeze. He says, "Well done, Batman, but you shouldn't you shouldn't stick your nose. But you shouldn't stick your nose into my business." Of course, this is Batman's business, and Ferris Boyle is not a very nice man. He is very cruel to what he does. And And Victor Freeze says, Nora, you can still save her. You must activate the generative cryogenic vapor, the cryogenic engines that'll keep her alive. And it says, but Ferris Boyle says, no, Victor, she dies, but I'll let her live long enough to see you go. And Batman's, even though he's frozen, able to try to break out of the icy wall that was meant for Mr. Freeze, but Batman got stuck on the trap himself. He is able to break out of the icy cold chamber trap that Ferris Boyle was able to freeze Victor in his tracks, of course, even though that was a chilling way to come back. I'm sorry, it's the ice puns! Wow, that's a fail ski. My bad. Should have done it. And so, and so for that matter, he is going to break out, which he did, and he tries to deliver a tackle, and he delivers one takedown punch and knocks out Ferris Boyle completely. And Batman says,
Take a seat, humanitarian.
And Batman is able to revive Nora Freeze by reactivating the generator of the cryofluid inside the gurney. And Victor Freeze was actually very pleased to see what he is looking at and seeing right now. Batman saved Nora Freeze, of course.
And Batman says, I'm sorry, Victor. I can't give you peace, but I can give you justice.
He is able to grab the other cryogenic fluid to insert into the suit of Mr. Freeze's supercooled survival suit to keep his core temperature sub-zero. And then Victor Freeze gives a good one last look and says, Nora. And that is the end of your Cold, Cold Heart DLC of Batman Arkham Origins. And I do believe that is the final stories of the Arkham storyline of Arkham Origins, of the main storyline and the DLC of Cold, Cold Heart. And I do believe that's about everything. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, favorite, and subscribe, and tell me, what do you guys think of Batman Arkham Origins, which is the game which is on the Xbox 360 and the PS3, PC, and Steam. Of course, the storyline itself, you know. But I am spent anyways, so once again, this is Leo Wolverine saying and speaking as always as your sensational Super Saiyan and your sensational Spider-Man, who takes chances, makes mistakes, and get messy in Leo's Let's Plays Alliance in Breast Cancer Awareness Month for the entire month of October! Celebrating it! So breast cancer is going down in history, 'cause I'm wearing pink. Godspeed, play safe, and shalom! Remember, the Dark Knight is always watching you, and so am I. And why? Because he'll always punch crime in the face, as always, and non-stop. See you guys next time for more of Arkham Twin Days.